Welcome everyone to Coaster Hour, and today I'm going to be doing a new type of video, which is something I haven't done before, and that is reacting to an article of the top 100 best theme parks in the entire world. This article is pretty recent, April 15th of this year, coming from TourScanner, which is a very large tourism website, so should theoretically be a pretty well-researched list. I say researched because I highly doubt the person who made this has actually been to all these parks. That just seems extremely unlikely. And of course, as for me, the person reacting to this, obviously I have not been to all of these parks, but I certainly will have been to at least a few of them that will appear on here. But I should mention I have not been to all of these parks. I think that should be pretty expected. I haven't even been to 100 parks in total, nowhere close. So with that being said, it should be pretty fun to dive into this and see what this person has as their top 100 parks, because this is also something that I bet a lot of people are going to kind of look at to get an idea of what parks they want to visit, what are the best ones in the entire world. So should be fun. And with that being said, let's dive straight into this. So I did already see the first one. They do have Disney World Resort in its entirety at number 1. And I mean, if they do rate the other parks as resorts, yeah, I could understand this being number 1. And at least they do mention the other 4 parks. But I honestly think they should have separated it, because these are 4 parks that you would have to do likely on 4 separate days, so it's not really a true one park, it's 4 parks. So, but definitely Disney World is a place I really want to visit, the resort, and it's got some great looking parks as well, so there's that. Number 2 is Europa Park. I did also see this one. I did not see 3 yet, but now I do, so we'll get to that in a second. But it's nice for them to put an international park that isn't a Disney park this high. Yes, it's a very well-renowned park. It's even won a few golden ticket awards for best park, when that award system is usually pretty American-centric, so that is definitely high praise. But it's really cool to see it on here. It's definitely a deserving park for sure, just based off all the amazing things I've heard of. It has a pretty solid coaster collection and some amazing theming, amazing dark rides. It's themed to Europe in general. Different areas are themed to different European countries, so it actually seems like a really cool park and one I want to visit eventually. At number 3, we have the Disneyland Resort, and I'm a little shocked that this is only at 3 and below Europa Park if you're including both Disneyland and California Adventure. If it were just Disneyland, I'd understand, but Disneyland is my favorite park I've ever been to, so I do like seeing that it is very high on here. Even though I'm more of a coaster enthusiast, this park just has such an amazing ride lineup. You have Rise of the Resistance, Indiana Jones, which is actually my number 1 ride there, Splash Mountain, Space Mountain, Pirates of the Caribbean, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, Star Tours, Smuggler's Run, like so many like really fun and good rides all in one park. It's a very deep lineup, and it also has amazing theming and some pretty good food options as well, so it is my number 1 park. California Adventure is also a fun park to visit. It's definitely a park that I have had some not as great visits at compared to some others, but it's still very fun. You obviously have Radiator Springs Racers, Guardians Mission Breakout. There's a lot of cool stuff there, so I guess that's a pretty good number 3. Number 4 is Disneyland Paris, so another resort, so at least they're consistent with the resort thing. I was wondering if they were going to be, so they are. And I've heard good things about Disneyland Paris. Walt Disney Studios, not so much, so I actually do kind of question this ranking, because Tokyo Disney Resort is lower than this, which is pretty surprising. But I would imagine there's going to be a bunch of Disney resorts pretty high up here. It's generally how it is. At number 5 is Universal Orlando Resort. And I guess I should mention they do count water parks for certain ones. I don't know why they didn't mention it for the others. So Universal Orlando at number 5. I think that's pretty low. I haven't been here yet, but Islands of Adventure is considered by many that I have heard from as one of the best parks in the entire world, and you combine that with Universal Studios Florida, which I've heard isn't exactly the greatest park in the world, but it's still a pretty good one, and it's got some pretty cool rides like Escape from Gringotts, or Gringotts, however you pronounce it, along with Hollywood Rip Ride Rocket, Revenge of the Mummy, Transformers, I believe, is over there too. Yeah, it says so on here. So they have quite a few good rides. It certainly looks like a fun park, so I think that would probably be above Disneyland Paris, I would feel like. And also they include Volcano Bay, so I don't understand why it's this low, but it's still pretty high on here, obviously. Number 6, we have Tivoli Gardens. That's actually a surprise. I've heard this is a very beautiful park. It's in Copenhagen. It is visually very stunning from photos I've seen, and they also have a really good flat ride lineup from my understanding. But I am a bit stunned to see it this high. I guess if you really like atmosphere and flat rides, I guess this is your place. But wow, I'm pretty shocked that it's this high. But at least it's on here. To be honest, I wouldn't have expected it to be anywhere near the top 10. So that's pretty cool. Number 7 is Universal Studios Hollywood. I'm a pretty big fan of this park. I think it's very underrated. It's not one that's talked about enough, but this is like ridiculously high. I don't know. I don't even think it probably should be in the top 30, to be honest. If you really like movies, I could see it being higher because the studio tour is that good. And it is my favorite attraction I've experienced at any park, which I guess that's high praise. But a lot of their rides you can find at other parks, and their ride lineup is very small. This is a park you can very easily do within a half day if lines aren't that long or you utilize single rider. It's a park that's pretty easy to do. It's not really something that takes super long, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's just kind of like, I don't think it at all deserves to be a top 10 park in the world, but I guess if you're a really big movie fan, I could see it being there. Next, we have Cedar Point. Some people might say this is low. I actually think it's fine. Now, I think it should be above Universal, and I have been to Cedar Point, so it is my number 3 park I've been to, and I really enjoy it. Its coaster collection is obviously extremely elite. It's the best of any park I visited, assuming Dragster reopens, of course. But it's my favorite in that regard. And even the other aspects of the park, it's in a beautiful location. It's got pretty good food for an amusement park, and it's pretty well kept up and everything. It's got a nice atmosphere. It's not amazing in the like non-ride department, I guess, outside of location, but it's good enough and at least serviceable, if not pretty good. So Cedar Point definitely deserves to make the top 10. Number 9 is Universal Studios Japan. I've heard really good things about this park. Obviously, it's got some incredible rides such as why am I Flying Dinosaur? Right. I don't know why I was blinking out on the coaster name, but Flying Dinosaur. They still have Jaws. They have Hollywood Dream, which I've heard mixed things about, but should be a pretty fun ride. They got Spider-Man as well. Do they still have the Jurassic Park River Adventure? I believe they do. They got a lot of really cool rides, so I could totally see why someone would rank this as high as it is on here. Maybe a little too high, but can't go wrong with it. Number 10 is Efteling. I've heard amazing things about this park. This is in the Netherlands. It's got some incredible theming as well. It has one of the best dark ride lineups I've heard of any park in the entire world, especially outside of Disney. So very high praise. And they have some solid coasters there as well that are also incredibly themed. As you can see here, Baron 1898, Joris and Drak, and they have a few others as well, but this park definitely is very high on my bucket list. It's more of a park for theme park fans than true coaster enthusiasts, just based off what I've heard, but I've heard it's a place that is definitely a park to visit if you're ever in the Netherlands, so definitely I like to see it this high. But 11 is Hong Kong Disneyland. That's pretty high, honestly. From what I've heard, it's definitely a good park. It's a Disney park, but compared to the other castle parks, I've heard that it's not nearly as good. They do have some unique stuff, though. I do believe they have the this is the park that has the big grizzly mine cars, whatever the coaster is called. I don't know why the name is escaping me right now. And they also have a few other unique rides. I think this is the one with Mystic Manor. I sometimes get the ride lineups of Hong Kong and Shanghai mixed up, but I believe this is the one with Mystic Manor as well. So they do have some really cool unique rides, but a little surprised to see it this high. I mean, that is crazy. Next, we have SeaWorld Orlando at 12. Yeah, I definitely don't think so. I've never been to this park, but I mean, no, this should not be this high. It's got some nice coasters. It's got some pretty good aquarium exhibits as far as theme parks go, based off from what I've heard, but no way. That needs to be lowered. And then there's Tokyo Disney Resort at 13. There's no way it should be lower than SeaWorld Orlando. Like, that is ridiculous. I mean, this should at least be in the top 3 in my opinion. Obviously, I've never been, but Tokyo Disney Sea, if you've heard from anyone who's been, it's just such an incredible park that it is shocking that it is this low on here. And Tokyo Disneyland is also a park that it's very similar to the California Disneyland, so but even with that being said, it's still said to be a pretty good park. So I feel like those two, I mean, that's crazy that it was this low. That is insane. 14, we have Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is another park I've been to. It is my home park. I think actually this spot is fair. I would have it a bit lower because outside of the coaster lineup, which is incredible, I do find that this park definitely is a little lacking in other areas, but they are improving in overall appearance, atmosphere, food options. Like, they're improving, but it's still very much a Six Flags park. But the coaster lineup is so good that if you're really into coasters, this is going to rank really high. It is my number 5 overall park, but for someone who is only at the parks for the coasters, this is definitely going to rank super high. So I think this is actually a fair placement. Next, we have Ocean Park. Very interesting ranking. This park has kind of been going in the wrong direction. They've been removing rides. They're maybe changing their focus instead of being in a theme park to something else. It has a stunning location. It really does. But since they've lost some pretty significant rides, they lost their Zamperla mine train, which was like one of the best mine trains in the world, and a drop tower with amazing views. Like, they've been losing quite a bit, so I think it should be lowered quite a bit, but it is a pretty cool park. Next, we have Dollywood. It says Dollywood Parks and Resorts. I guess it includes like what, the hotels, the water park. Okay. Yeah, it should be pretty high. This is a park I've heard amazing things about, so that feels about right. I'm probably gonna zoom through the next bunch just so this video doesn't take a million years, because I think at the rate I'm going it would. Next, we have Alton Towers. I've heard mixed things about the park. I've heard like the park's good. 17 in the world seems really high though, but the atmosphere is pretty cool because it takes place in the park is in a very historical setting, so, and it has some pretty good coasters, Nemesis, Smiler, along with Wickerman. just because of the weird theming. That one looks really cool. Next we have Puy du Fou, which I have heard of this park, but I know like next to nothing about it. So I'm going to just move past it because I really don't know anything about it. It's not your traditional park based off my understanding. But number 19, we have Universal Studios Singapore. I think this one should be lowered. This park is quite a step down based up from what I've heard compared to the other Universal parks. They do have some cool rides. They do have Battlestar Galactica, which is a pretty unique ride. But I mean, there's some areas that are really lacking. Like they were basically on a budget, like the Shrek area, unfortunately, and they have a Madagascar area that's like that as well, that I know is going to be replaced, but should be lowered. At 20, we have Carowinds. That is surprising to see it above a lot of other parks we haven't seen yet. Kings Island, Knott's Berry Farm, Fantasia Land. I mean, that's crazy high. It has a really good coaster collection. I want to visit it. Fury 325 is a bucket list coaster, but at 20 in the world, I don't think so. Six Flags Great Adventure at 21. I think it's a little too high, but another park that I guess Great Adventure does have a really good coaster lineup, as does Carowinds before. And they do have some of the best coasters in the world here, with El Toro, King Ka, which I think it would be up there for me because I like dragsters so much, and a very solid supporting lineup afterwards. But 21, I don't know about that. Shanghai Disneyland all the way down here at 22. I mean, it is relatively new, and I don't believe their ride lineup is that large, so that kind of lines up. But they do have they have the Pirates of the Caribbean that's like completely unique, that looks really awesome. They have Tron, like they have some good rides, so I guess that's fine. 23, we have Busch Gardens Tampa, which I have not been to, but with the mix of a really good coaster lineup and pretty good theming and animal exhibits, I think this is actually a pretty solid spot. I know there's some people who do not like this park and think it should be quite a bit lower, but I think this is fine. PortAventura at 24. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm a little surprised we haven't seen it yet. I've heard really good things about this park's theming. This park actually used to be a Universal park back in the day, but it is now not. And they also have some pretty good coasters as well with Shambhala, Dragon Con. I guess theoretically they should be including Ferrari Land in this ranking as well, because that's technically part of the resort, even though they don't mention it. So actually, I think it should be higher, just because if you're going to include both of those, it definitely should be a little bit higher. Even if I've heard there are some operational things that could be worked out. 25 is Six Flags Mexico. Wow. So I have actually been to this park. I did like it. There is no way it is park 25 in the world. That is stunning that it is that high on here. But what I will say about it is that it does have some really nice looking areas for a Six Flags park. It has some very colorful buildings as well, which is really cool. Ties in with like, it feels like it belongs there in Mexico City, which is a good thing. And its setting is pretty cool. Some of the views you get from some of the coasters is incredible, such as Superman Il Ultimo Escape. One of the best views of any coaster I've been on. And then their top two coasters are also excellent. They have Superman El Ultimo Escape and Medusa Steel Coaster, which are excellent coasters, but their overall ride lineup isn't exactly amazing at all. And I wouldn't say the other aspects of the park are good enough to like put it up over parks like Silver Dollar City, which we haven't even seen on here. So that is crazy. 26, we have Gardaland. No, I'm just gonna move on. That's nope. There's no way. 27 is Latte World. It's a very unique park from what I've heard. It's one I don't know a ton about, but it's got a really cool looking indoor section, and seems to have some pretty good theming. I like that they have variety in terms of different parks around the world. I will say that. But that seems a little high. 28 is Six Flags Over Georgia. I'm actually supposed to visit it, this park this summer. That picture is of Superman Escape, which is not at the park. That's actually in Australia at Warner Bros. Movie World. But anyways, I haven't been yet. I've heard mixed things about it. 28 seems a little rich, but it does seem to have a pretty good coaster lineup and even a few solid non-coasters. So I guess I'll have to wait to see if this sort of lines up. 29 is Ferrari World. It's definitely a different place, very different park. So I think it's cool to see it on here. I think at this point I'm not gonna mess with the rankings too much. I'll just kind of more go faster at this point now that we've reached 30. Kings Island at 30. This seems very low, especially considering Carowinds we already saw on here and Six Flags Mexico. And not to say those parks are bad, like Six Flags Great Adventure as well, but Kings Island lowered them. I find that hard to believe. The coaster lineup is at least comparable, if not better, than Carowinds and Great Adventure. And this park is said to just be ran very well, so a park that I hope to visit very soon. Next we have Holiday World, which this also seems very low. Really good coaster lineup, even though it's not that large in quantity. Very good quality. They have an amazing water park that I assume is also included in this ranking. Yeah, it says Splash and Safari, so it should be a lot higher actually. That's pretty surprising that it's this low. 32 is Ferrari Land. Now this makes no sense because we had Port Aventura earlier, which in this part of the resort. So I have no idea why it's its own standalone spot and why it's numbered 32. This makes like no sense. It shouldn't even be in the top 100. They have like so few rides there. It is like less than a half-day park. You can literally get it done in a few hours. There's no way it should be at 32. That is like ridiculous. Not saying it's a bad park, but it's just way too small right now. 33 is Warner Bros. Movie World. I love how they also have Superman Escape in this picture. I haven't been there. I've heard mixed things on it. I don't know enough to... it seems like it's high, but I wouldn't know enough about this park to say a whole lot. 34 is Nagashima Spa Land. I've actually heard this park's really cool, so I respect this ranking. Why do they have White Cyclone? It's not there anymore. Some of the pictures are a little frustrating. 35 is Paulson's Park. I've heard it's a really good family park. So I guess to add some variety to this, I understand it. But traditionally, I don't think I'd have it this high. Number 36, Chimelong Ocean Kingdom. This is the park that also has the world's largest aquarium, believe it or not. And it actually has some pretty cool looking theming. So, cool to see it on here, for sure. I think that's pretty cool. 37, we have Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Another park that has a pretty deep ride lineup in terms of quantity. They also have a lot of classic attractions, so it's definitely a unique park compared to really anything we've seen up to this point, I would say. Also has a really nice setting, being on by the ocean. That seems a little high just based off the issues I've heard with it, but it's a park I want to visit. 38 is Six Flags Discovery Kingdom. No, this park should not even be... I mean, I maybe saying out of the top 100 is harsh because the ride lineup might be able to squeak it in. But this park, I've had the worst visits at. Just, the operations are always very iffy. In terms of, actually not really dispatches. The dispatches are fine and everything, but like, and I don't criticize that much. But unless it's like egregiously slow, which this park doesn't have the problem. The park's problem is that rides go down like constantly anytime I go, and it is a park that you need even like a flash pass to at least when I've went, I've needed a flash pass to even get some enjoyment out of it, which that's like really bad if I can only enjoy my day somewhat if I'm getting something as expensive as that. So this definitely should be a lot lower. It like maybe at 96 or something. Park Asterix at 39. I've heard really good things about this park. They're getting Tutatis next year. It's got some really funky theming, but it looks pretty cool. So I respect that. 40 is Fantasialand. Wow, that's really low. That should be a lot higher. Amazing theming, amazing rides. That should be so much higher. That is really low. 41 is Sunway Lagoon. I don't even know what this is, so I'm gonna move past it. But said it was in Malaysia, so I'll maybe look into it, just see what it's about. 42 is Knott's Berry Farm. They show a picture of the boomerang. Why do they have so many pictures of defunct rides? This was made in 2022. But anyways, this should be higher. If they have one of the best Halloween events in the entire world, my favorite I've ever done. This is my number 4 overall park. It's one I really enjoy. It's got great coasters, great rides, great atmosphere, even some pretty good theming, some pretty good food options as well. So the operations are a little iffy, are infamously pretty iffy, but it's a really good park, so I think it should be a lot higher. 43 is Legoland Billund, which is the original Legoland park. So I guess it deserves a place on here. Probably figuring out where would be pretty difficult, so I can respect him putting it on here just because it's such a huge chain. 44 is Heidi Park. It feels like there should be some other European parks that have not appeared that should have come before this. I haven't heard exactly amazing things about this park, but it has some theming, I guess. And it does have Colossus, so there we go. 45 is Wiener Prater in Austria. So from my understanding, this is like almost a souped up fair, but it's like a permanent park. And it's apparently extremely expensive to visit from what I've heard. That's just something that I've heard, but it seems like it has a cool atmosphere, and I'm happy some of these more obscure-ish parks. I mean, I guess this isn't really that obscure, but for a general list, I'm happy that some of these parks are making it. Next, we have Legoland Windsor in UK. I've heard this is also a solid Legoland park, but I don't know too much else about it. Thorpe Park at 47, probably not. I've heard some really not so good things about this park, and the ride lineup doesn't seem to be good enough to justify its placement here, so I'm gonna say that should be quite a bit lower. 48 is Gronalund. I've heard this park is like really cool, so at this point we're getting into the 40s. So I think it's cool to see this one on here, and I think this is pretty good. 49 is Futuroscope. It's a very weird park. They only got their first coaster recently. I know like next to nothing about it outside of it. It's more technology based, which I guess is pretty cool. So I guess it deserves a place on here just because it's so different. So that's cool. 50 is Beto Carreiro World in Brazil, which I probably totally butchered that. I actually can't recall the attractions at this park, so I'm gonna move on, but I will say the castle looks really cool. I like the very vibrant multicolored look they're going with there, so that's actually pretty cool. I like that. Wow, we're getting into some ones I don't know about. Leolandia, I really don't know what this park is. Might have to look into it later. I guess it's another cool thing about this video is that even I'm getting parks that I'm not very familiar with. 52 is Movie Park Germany. This is the one that does have Star Trek. Operation, I forget what it's called, but they have the Star Trek coaster. They have a few other solid rides. So I guess at this point, it's more just probably the order doesn't matter so much as long as it's like not something that's egregiously low. So Ramoji Film City, I've never heard of this park. It doesn't even say where it is. Largest studio complex in the world, so I guess also is a studio. That's actually pretty cool done. Definitely a park I'll look into. Djurs Summerland in Denmark, home of Puritan, and a few different coasters. It's also on here. Parque Warner Madrid is another park that I've heard some good things about. They have Stuntfall there. Another park that has a lot of Warner Bros. IP. Another Legoland. This is the one in Germany. Wallaby Holland makes it at 57. I'm like kind of zooming through these because I'm like really going over. 58, IMG Worlds of Adventure. This is in Dubai. Like I said, at this point, Farouk Summerland made it on here. I'm actually very happy about that. I've heard it's an excellent park, has a really cool forest atmosphere. And they just opened Phoenix as well. I actually interviewed their CEO in a video a while back. You can check that out if you would like, but it seems like a really good park based off everything I've heard, and I'm very happy to see it made it on this list, so that's really cool. 60, we have Siam Park. I've heard of this, but once again, I like know next to nothing about it. Next, we have Wallaby Belgium, which is the one with Conda, of course. So another one with a pretty good ride lineup. Nigloland in France. This is the park with Alpina Blitz and some other coasters. They just got their water coaster last year. Canada's Wonderland at 63. Ouch. Wow, that's very low. That should be higher. It apparently has a pretty nice atmosphere. It has a very large ride lineup, I'll say, but their top coasters look pretty good. So, and their flat ride lineup also looks really good. So, should be higher. Energylandia. That feels like it should be higher just for their top quality rides. I've heard this park is very strange to visit, but feels like it should be higher than 64. Chessington at 65. Another solid looking theme park in the UK. Plopsaland Japan at 66. They just got the Ride to Happiness. Chimelong Paradise, which is another one of the parks in the area kind of where Chimelong Ocean Kingdom is, if I'm correct. This is in Guangzhou. This has the Premier Skyrocket too. I don't know too much about this park, but there it is. VGP Universal Kingdom. I don't know what this one is. It doesn't say. It says located in Chennai, which I don't know where that is. So another one I'll have to look into. Isla Magica. I've heard of this park. They have the SLC. I don't know what else is there. So Sundown Adventureland. Another one I don't know of. Hansa Park. This is the one with they say the Oath of Kiernan, but they're short as Kiernan. And Floop von Novgorod. It actually seems like a really cool park, so I honestly think that should be higher. Warner Bros. Studio Tour in London. I don't know that that should count. There's not really any rides. I've heard it's a cool tour. It's like showing the sets of Harry Potter and like the different memorabilia. I've looked into it, but that's not really a theme park, so weird entry on here. Legoland Malaysia, another Legoland park. Six Flags Fiesta Texas. Feels like that should be a little higher, especially if we had other Six Flags parks as high as they were. So I would say that. Cool quarry wall setting and some really good looking coasters. Fuji Q Highland. The coaster lineup is really good. The operations are abysmally slow, the dispatches. So, and there's some things about this park that I've heard are very difficult to deal with. So I can get lowering that for that reason. So I guess I'm actually fine with this. 76 was La Ronde. I've heard really bad things about this park, and I don't know. It feels like we haven't even seen Silver Dollar City yet, which is driving me insane. Unless they included it in Dollywood Parks. I'll have to look at that in a second. But, I mean, there's definitely some other parks that should be here instead of this. Gold Reef City is one, for example. It's themed to, I think, kind of like their like gold rush and mining that they have over there. It's actually supposedly like a really cool park, and they have some really unique rides, really unique coasters with Anaconda, Tower of Terror, which at one point it used to pull the most G's of any coaster. I think it still does. It's over 6 G's, so very powerful ride. So there we go. A water park that I don't know about. It's in Dubai. Cool. Wonderla Bangalore in India. I don't know about this park. This is not the one in India that I'm aware of. But I guess it's nice that they are including parks from all these different countries. It adds some variety, if nothing else. I don't know anything about it to say anything. TB Dabo. Yeah, they have that crazy plane ride. I forgot about that. This is in Spain. They also have a weird Vekoma coaster. That's like a family style coaster that is terrain based. It actually looks pretty cool. So, interesting that it would have made it on here because it's pretty small, but hey, why not, right? Liufu Village Theme Park. This is in Taiwan. Yeah, they have the Intimate Impulse. And some pretty cool theming just based off the look of the picture, so pretty cool. Enchanted Kingdom in the Philippines. Yeah, I've heard of this one. They have a spinning coaster, I do know that, so adding some more variety in terms of location. Legoland Japan. Another Legoland park. Wow, they're really loading them up here. Fanta Wild Adventure Woohoo. I'm trying to remember because there's a lot of different Fanta Wild parks that it's hard to remember their coaster lineup. I do believe this one does have a Jungle Trailblazer, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe it doesn't. Bakken. This is the oldest park in the entire world, so deserves to make it on here. And it's got some pretty cool looking flat rides and also some pretty solid coasters. They have the Launch Spinning Coaster and Rush Bannon. So, Imagica, this is the park in India that I knew about. This is the one that has the indoor premier launch coaster. I've actually heard this park's pretty cool, so nice to see it on here. Soul Land, I do not recall this one. I think I've heard of it, but I don't know anything about it. Everland hasn't appeared on here, which is insane. Dream World in Australia. I've heard mixed things on it. Busch Gardens Williamsburg at 89. Wow, that is super low. I've heard amazing things about this park. Looks super nice. Great coaster lineup. Really, really good theming in terms of a non-Disney or Universal park in America. That is shocking it is this low. That is crazy. 90, we have SeaWorld in Australia. And, yeah, they're getting Leviathan soon, so another Australian park. We haven't seen too many of them. We've seen a few of them now, though, so that's cool. Six Flags Great America at 91. That seems low considering where other Six Flags parks were placed. Leesburg at 92. Wow. Yeah, also another one that's really low. I've heard amazing things about this park. They have Helix, of course, Balder, really cool setting near the downtown area of the city it's located in. Looks really good, actually. 93 is Everland. There it is. So yeah, I mean, it's got a pretty large zoo section. It actually has some really nice looking landscaping. It's obviously got T-Express, some other solid rides, so nice to see it. 94 Silver Dollar City. Wow, that's bad. That is extremely low. Amazing theming. Great ride lineup, great coaster lineup, Outlaw Run, Time Traveler. Like, how'd this end up at 94? Amazing food too, like, really? 95 is SeaWorld San Diego, so finally we get another park I visited. I think at this point, yeah, I'm pretty cool with it being on here. It's not one of my favorite parks, but it's pretty solid for what it is, so... yeah, I think that's pretty solid. King's Dominion at 96. That's also seemingly way too low. Pretty nice park from what I've heard. Some really good coasters and rides, so that seems really low. Happy Valley Beijing. They have a pretty good coaster lineup. Essel World in India. I've heard of this one. I think the picture is wrong. I'm pretty dang sure it is. But anyways, I don't know enough about it to really say anything. 99 Six Flags New England. 100 Hershey Park. Okay, no. This is my number 2 park. How is it number 100? At least it made it, but really? I mean, amazing coaster lineup with Skyrush, Stormrunner, Candemonium. I have not ridden because it wasn't open when I last went, because it was not even announced yet. Fahrenheit. Really good atmosphere. I mean, good food, good desserts. Like, why is it at number 100? That is crazy. Okay, so now that we've looked at this entire thing, this video went really long, so my apologies on that. I'm just gonna try to think of like the biggest snubs of the bunch. Like, it feels like there is actually some parts that legitimately got snubbed. I mean, some of the ones that I was thinking of came in at the very end, like Hershey Park. That is crazy that it took that long for it to even appear on here. But I'm gonna try to think of parks. Kentucky Kingdom was not on here. That was that's kind of surprising, to be honest. I know it's kind of it's a small park, but I mean there were other small parks on here, so like, come on, we could put it on here. Kentucky Kingdom wasn't on here. There are probably some pretty significant international ones that were not on here. I'm trying to think of specific ones that did not make it. Mirabilandia, actually. If Gardaland made it, kind of surprising. Mirabilandia didn't even make the list, and Gardaland was like in the 30s. Knoebels didn't make it. I mean, how does that not make it? That's obviously here in the US, but what in the world? That is actually crazy that Knoebels didn't even make it. I mean, that is insane. What else didn't? I mean, there's a bunch of Six Flags parks that have decent lineups, but I kind of get it that they're not on here. Over Texas comes to mind, and then for Cedar Fair parks, Worlds of Fun Dorney Park. I don't know that I would have been vouching for them to be on here. Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, actually I think it should have made it. It's a pretty cool seaside park. I know the ride lineup isn't like super crazy, but it's got a nice atmosphere. That's another one that I think should have been on here. There were like, I'm probably Lagoon is another one that probably should have been on here. I mean, there were some pretty big ones that were not on here. I'm pretty surprised. And some of the rankings were just crazy. I mean, like, Tokyo Disney Resort under Universal Studios Hollywood? Really? But I guess I'll just kind of end it there. This video's gone really long, so I think that's gonna wrap it up. But I guess for the next time, I'll try to make sure I cut down a bit on the amount of time that it takes to do this, but I hope you all enjoyed the video. It's something different, and if you want to see more videos like this with different things, then let me know and I'll make sure to do it and make one that is more, I guess, time friendly. So that is pretty much everything there. And with that being said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time here on Coaster Hour.